This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Good Tuesday morning to all of you wonderful people out there in the sports world. The World Series, it's pitching off tonight. I can't really say it's kicking off. It's pitching off. It's hitting off. It's
throwing.
It's throwing. They're throwing into the towel. Well, not yet. It's only game 1 tonight. So the World Series is tonight. Fantasy basketball is right around the corner. And for all of you that love the NFL, well, Monday Night Football was last night also. So I'm sure everybody in the sports world is thoroughly excited because no matter what sport you support, they're pretty much all in season right now. Basketball is right around the corner. College football is in full swing. NFL is going on. The playoffs for Major League Soccer is right around the corner. Hockey's going on. It's a good time to be alive right now,
It is,
Sam.
I guess, and now that you mentioned that, I didn't really notice or really comprehend that all of this was going on all at the same time. It is a great time.
It is. It is a very good time, and I think
time.
I feel bad, Sam, because we haven't talked about them. We pretty much didn't talk about them at all last week, so I just needed just a quick moment here to do this. I just feel like when Green Bay has an off week, it's hard to survive.
It
is. And I'm gonna ask you a question in just a moment, but I need to take a moment to remind our listeners that they can get us right here from 7 to 8 a.m. Central live on Spreaker.com and here on Periscope as well. Good morning to all of you watching us on Periscope. Great to see all of you guys so far. Keep coming in. Keep telling your friends. We love hearing from you and seeing you guys as well this morning. We also are on Sports Radio America from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time. You can also get us on Live 365 and tune in. Good morning to Jacqueline Zad. Hi. Hello. Good to see you. Hello. Thanks for saying hi to us. And we can also on demand as well on Spreaker, iTunes, and on iHeartRadio. And then for those of you that love the social media game, like I know Sam and I both do. Oh, good morning from Brazil.
Ooh, wow. Awesome.
Exotic.
I think that's the furthest.
I think so. I think we've had like Russia before too, but Brazil I think is the farthest south we've ever had.
Yeah, awesome.
So, good morning from Brazil.
So
Hello.
Cool.
Wow, instead of like good morning Vietnam, it's good morning Brazil.
Good. Sorry.
Exactly. Anyway, we're also on Facebook at the Bax and Grant Sports Show, and then on Twitter we are at BG Sports Show. I am at Baxter Colburn. Sam is Samuel_Wallace 2, and Grant is Grant's Rant BGSS. Okay, I mentioned that I was going to ask you about something, Sam. So you need to tell me what your Sunday was like when you popped in the Packers Super Bowl DVD that you watched, as you always do on the bye week.
It was wonderful. I slept in a little bit on Sunday. I got up, grabbed some breakfast, sat down on my couch, popped in like the 75-minute DVD.
Oof, quality.
And it was spectacular.
Was it? Okay. I saw the Facebook status about it too, so I'm like, Sam must be just in heaven right now.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of things during that season that took place that I forgot about. Just some of the names that made me laugh a little bit. I'm like, man, he played for our team.
Oh, geez, now we have somebody in from Kazakhstan. So we've got one from Brazil, one from Kazakhstan. Anybody else from around the globe? My gosh.
I didn't realize we were so global.
I didn't realize it either. The Bax and Grant Sports Show is international. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, it's all good. We're saying thank you. Saying
that's awesome. Yeah.
Gracias for you. I don't know Portuguese, but I think it translates over. So
English. Hey, that's all right.
Either way.
Let's see. So, Packers Super Bowl.
Yes.
Just some of the guys on the team just making me laugh, and just remembering all the injuries they went through and things like that.
Just a terrible
next
season.
Man up. And there was one game they played early in the season where they had like 5 guys go down in injured reserve, and lost a couple games on field goals and overtime, and just all of the last minute defensive stands we had to make every week. It seemed like it was cool.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. I was watching back some Super Bowl highlights as well the other day, and I'm like, holy cow. I was like, who are half of these people that are on our team? Charlie Pepra, I think, was one of the names that I heard. I'm like, wait, what? I was like,
well, it was Charlie Pepra and then like Jarrett Bush.
Yeah.
That was a great game. And there was one play that he had made, and it was in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl, and he made like an interception or a great defensive play, and Greg Jennings was always mic'd up a lot throughout the season.
You got to keep Greg mic'd.
He had a lot of great comments during the season and during the playoffs, especially. And he's like, "Man, Jarrett Bush making plays, like everybody's making plays." And I guess for Packer fans, you can probably remember some of just the boneheaded mistakes he would make, either on special teams or on defense. My dad and I would be looking at each other, going, "Jarrett Bush, come on!" But at the same time, he could come around and just make good plays when he needed to.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was fun to watch it, experience it again. Still gave me goosebumps.
Well, that's good. That's absolutely good. Well, somebody on Periscope, I need to thank you. You commented my bow tie. Yes, I'm wearing a bow tie. It's kind of going on. The reason I'm dressed up today is kind of a sad reason. I'm dressed up because I'm out of jeans. so I needed to wear dress pants to work today because I can wear jeans to my job, which is fantastic.
Well, then.
So I was looking around. I'm like, we did laundry last night, but not all of it was dry yet. So I was like, oh, crap, I'm going to have to wear dress pants. So I decided to go. It's Tuesday, Bow Tie Tuesday.
Okay.
Have to go with it. It's a thing. There's an actual bow tie company called Bow Tie Tuesday. So everybody out there,
I did not know of this.
You got to do it. And one other thing. I promise it's not all about me, Sam.
I
promise.
It's your show.
Oh, thank you.
It's your show.
I appreciate that. I did a broadcast for a local radio station on Friday night, and I walked into the booth, and my broadcast partner was like, hey, nice bow tie. I was like, oh, thank you. He's like, yeah, I heard that you're known for having a bow tie. I was like, yes! Because I've been wearing bow ties for the last year and a half for my broadcast I do, and people are like, you're the bow tie broadcaster. I'm like, yes, thank you very much.
It's funny, though, because now that I think about it, if anybody were to ask me, who do you know that wears bow ties a lot? You would probably be the first person to come to mind.
I appreciate that. I started as a gift from my grandma. Mm-hmm. She was like, oh, here's a bow tie for Christmas.
You have to wear it then.
I was like, oh, fine. And my wife now was able to help me match it up with some things. And since that, I think I now have 10 bow ties.
Ooh, there we go. See?
So, bow tie for every occasion. So, thank you, all of you.
Moral of the story, grandmas are the best.
Hashtag go Graham go instead of go back go. All right. Well, Sam, one of the things I want to take a look at right away this morning is who would you say is one of the toughest, if not the toughest division in the NFL right now? I know overall some people can make arguments about different divisions. The AFC North I know gets tossed around a lot because 3 of their 4 teams made the playoffs last year. I've heard the NFC North has been tossed around as well, but we don't care about any of that right now.
Yep.
We care about right this second, 7 weeks in, who do you think is the toughest NFL division right now?
Man, I'm going to say, or I'm going to take it as toughest as in who really has the chance, which division is going to be the hardest to win for the teams in it right now. I'm going to have to say either the NFC East or the NFC West. And I'll say that with the NFC East simply because the 4-3 Giants currently have the lead in that division, but they have not looked anything like a division leader. Kirk Cousins and the Redskins have been keeping things just annoyingly interesting for everybody in that division.
They really have. That's the best way to talk about the Redskins. They're just annoying. Nobody wants to play them right now. They're 3-1 at home, for God's sakes.
Yeah. The Philadelphia Eagles, I think they have too much talent on that team to be kept down forever. I think at any given moment they can explode and have a big offensive game.
Yep.
So they're going to, stay in the mix. And Dallas, we'll see. Does Tony Romo come back towards the second half of the season and help them make a stretch run? They're a great regular season team, things like that. Yeah, shout out to Sam Bradford.
Yeah, Sammy Bradford. I think he's doing all right. I think that he needs a little bit better protection as well on his offensive line, but I think that this is a good opportunity for Philadelphia. I mean, yes, technically they're in third place in their division, but 3-4 is not bad. You win a game, you're in first place, for God's sake. It's crazy. That's how weird this divisions are this year. For me, I'm going to have to say I'm going to keep it in the NFC as well. I'm going to make 2 arguments. One, you could make an argument for the AFC East just because every single team in that division is either above 500 or very, very close to 500.
Yeah.
That division is going to just beat the crap out of each other this year. I mean, I know the Patriots are 6-0, but the Jets are 4-2. The Dolphins just laid a hurting down on Houston, proving that, hey, they still have an offense. Don't forget about us, NFL. We're still relevant.
No kidding.
And then Buffalo is just kind of weird in terms of they can show up randomly and hurt you. But then I can also look at it from the NFC West perspective where, sure, only 2 teams are at 500 or above, but every single game that's going to be played in that division, and even the outside divisional opponents that they play this year, are going to be hard-fought fights. I mean, even coming from a Packers perspective, they have to go through this entire division this year, and it's been ridiculous. And I'm really sorry, Cam Fitch 32, that you had Lamar Miller on your team and you sat him on the bench.
I had Lamar Miller and thankfully started him.
Ooh.
So.
I mean, you can't really blame you, though, because Lamar Miller hasn't played well. So that's not your fault, Cam Fitch 32, I think is what your username was. But yeah, overall, though, Sam, I think you look at these 2 or 3 different divisions and you have to just scratch your head and say, well, honestly, no division is really doing that great this year.
No.
Some folks might say, well, the NFC South, they've got 2 teams with 6 wins. Yeah, don't even start with me on Carolina and Atlanta right now because look who they've beaten. Look at their division. It's just a sorry state of sorriness. That's the best way to put it.
I still can't wait for the Saints to really make a run and really mix it up in that division.
You think they're going to make a run?
I think they will.
Oh, geez. That Drew Brees kid, I heard he's going to do something special.
He's not bad.
We talked about him yesterday. And I think it's a little surprising, too, that the AFC West is such a hot mess this year, too. Denver 6-0, Oakland 3-3, Kansas City 2-5, and San Diego's 2-5. Traditionally a division that is pounding the heck out of each other. And this year, none of them can really seem to get their ground going because even with Denver being 6-0, people are saying they're probably the worst 6-0 team right now.
Yeah. I mean, if Yeah, that's true. You take out Denver's stellar defense, and they have maybe 3 wins this year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's about it.
Although somebody on Periscope just made mention that they think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the Super Bowl this year. So they're 2-4. Anything is possible, but
I hate to break it to you. I don't think it's going to happen.
Jameis is the answer, though, Sam. Is he not?
I really think he will settle down and be a very good quarterback, and he's shown flashes.
I think he's just a little too excited.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now he's saying it's a joke. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
We'll take whatever you say to us, and we'll run with it.
We'll absolutely run with it.
Just be careful.
You could have been like Colin Kaepernick is the greatest quarterback in the NFL.
Well, and we would have told you no.
No, we'd have been like, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
But with Tampa Bay, I mean, it's good to have some optimism, but no. It's hard to find true. I found it's hard to find true Jacksonville Jaguar fans, Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, and pre-Goodyear Seattle fans.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, I really do like what's going on down in Tampa Bay. You got some great young wide receivers.
Mike Evans is fantastic.
Yeah, Mike Evans is wonderful in his second year right now. Just a physical beast back there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let us know your thoughts about who you think the toughest division in the NFL is right now. Is it the NFC West with the Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers? The NFC East with the Giants, Redskins, Eagles, and Cowboys? Or maybe it's the AFC West, or maybe the AFC East, or maybe another division we didn't talk about. Let us know your thoughts. Get us up on Twitter at BG Sports Show, at Baxter Colburn, at Samuel_Wallace, at Grant's Rant 2. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Sam and I had an adventure last night.
Yeah, we did.
I'm still scared. I'm very scared.
Yeah,
but we're going to tell you what happened last night and what to expect going forward. We'll be right back. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
All right, Sam, last night was a bit of an adventure. Kind of like from Up, Adventure is Out There.
Stepping way out of my comfort zone.
I am still not fully recovered from what we did last night.
Still don't know if I like this or not. We'll see.
Yeah, so for those of you that are like, what the hell are they talking about? We decided that it would be a great idea here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show.
Decided.
Okay, I decided
there
because I'm like, you know what? Basketball season is rolling right around the corner. Everybody and their mother's playing fantasy football right now, and I was like, well, you know what? we got to have a little bit more basketball content on the show. So why not put together an 8-team fantasy basketball league? Why not?
I'm just getting uncomfortable thinking about it now.
So we had our inaugural draft last night.
And just for the record, out of the 8 guys in our league, there is one of us
that is like a diehard basketball fan.
The rest of us, follow it loosely.
Sure.
Recognize the big names, the big stories. Could talk
enough
educated about it.
Yeah,
but
within reason.
Yeah, 7 of us are pretty new to this whole thing.
Yeah.
And the one guy is just loving it.
I've never played fantasy basketball before. The one guy that is our fantasy basketball guy, his name is Mitch. You'll probably hear us talk about him a lot. He's also he also is a big basketball fan, but he's a staff writer for Bucksketball, one of the partner sites of ESPN that is just a Milwaukee Bucks specific team. So he's got a lot of basketball knowledge from there. I know someone on Periscope, Cam Fitch 32. There is fantasy basketball.
I keep looking for the app, this really nice.
It's a thing.
It's not as nice.
It's not
and all inclusive as fantasy football. I'm like,
it's very
come on, app writers.
Yeah, it's a little sketch. They're probably like, oh, it's fantasy basketball. Just publish the one we did 20 years ago. Just keep publishing that one. It's a little old school, but it works. I recommend just playing on your desktop. Yeah. It's going to be a lot sleeker.
Cleaner.
Yeah, a lot cleaner. So I wanted to take a look at my team last night.
Yeah, we'll go back. Go ahead.
I recognize that for me, I feel like this was a successful draft because I recognize everybody's name on my team, I think, except for one.
That's exactly what I did.
I went through my team.
As long as I can I can't pronounce one of the guys' names, but that's okay.
Yeah, so
Take us through.
All right, so my team as of now is Victor Oladipo for Orlando.
Victor Oladipo.
That too.
He's from Indiana, Big Ten product.
All right, well, there you go. That's
right.
You're fine. You're fine. Oh, I've never heard his name really pronounced.
Oladipo.
Oladipo. All right. Brandon Knight, former Milwaukee Buck.
Yeah.
LeBron James. Got him with the third pick. Pau Gasol. I was on auto draft for that one pick. I was mad. I had to help my wife with laundry. And
LeBron James.
No, Pau Gasol, not LeBron James. I wanted LeBron.
All right.
DeAndre Jordan, Gorgon Dragic. Sure. Ryan Anderson, Michael Carter-Williams, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwight Howard, J.J. Redick, and David Lee.
J.J. He was great back in college.
He was. That was part of the reason. I was doing some research. I'm like, all right, who's a good three-point shooter? And I was like, J.J. Redick.
A white guy from Duke? Yeah. Seriously,
That's all they train their guys to do is shoot three-pointers.
Gosh, yeah.
That's the only reason he still has a job.
It was like J.J. Redick and then Kyle Singler. He was fun to watch. I'm not a Duke fan by any means, but, man, he was great.
Thank you. All right, well, who do you have on your team, Sam?
All right. So, let's see. Starting at point guard, I initially have here Kyrie Irving.
Starting at point guard.
Kyrie Irving. James Harden was my first-round pick at number 7. Carmelo Anthony. Tim Duncan, Mr. Fundamental.
Gotta do it.
I have a big Tim Duncan poster in my room at home. I needed him.
Nice.
Let's see. Nikola. You want to help me with that one?
Vucevic?
Yeah. Orlando Magic.
Vucevic?
Anybody wants to help me out with that one? Yeah.
Nikola. We'll call him Nikola.
Let's see. Andrew Wiggins from Minnesota.
Smart pick.
Giannis.
Antetokounmpo.
The Greek freak from Milwaukee had to get at least one Buck player.
You took Kobe.
And then I took Kobe in round 8.
I was looking for my last pick. I'm like, wonder if Kobe's still on the board, and he was gone. I'm like, dang it, who took Kobe?
Although I just want to read this here. His little bio, according to ESPN Fantasy Basketball, it says, "Don't be a sucker for name recognition. Don't be the person in your league who sees Kobe and thinks Black Mamba."
What?
Be the person who sees Kobe and thinks numbers, as in Kobe's been around the sun 37 times. He's played over 46,000 minutes in the NBA and 3 major surgeries in his shoulder, Achilles, and knees. So there was a reason he wasn't even remotely ranked in the top 100 players this year, but I'm like, it's Kobe.
You gotta get Kobe.
He's my utility player. I must feel kind of bad. That's like having some stud guy play as your flex in the NFL.
Exactly. It's like, I've got Adrian Peterson. I'll put him as a
flex.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He's had a bad year. Yeah, I know. I was like, Kobe's just one of the... That's kind of how I felt with Dirk Nowitzki, too, because everything I was reading up to this draft, it's like, this is not the year to draft Dirk Nowitzki. I'm like, but he averages 17 points a game. And I get it. He's been in the league for a long time, but he's consistent. He's still going to get the ball in Dallas.
The research that I did last night accounted for about 10 minutes before the draft started, just kind of clicking through.
I had 6 tabs open during the draft.
Oh, really? Oh, man, that's 4 more than I had open.
I was just going through ESPN, Roto World. After I got through the first people that I knew, I was like, all right, I need people. Who are good people? Who are sleepers? Who are good people? I was started grabbing random people. Yeah, Anthony Davis on Periscope. Someone saying here Anthony Davis will be a fantasy point machine with all his triple-doubles. Absolutely. He went second in our draft. Stephen Curry went first in our draft, and then Anthony Davis went second. The fear of the brow, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I actually have heard from a lot of ESPN sports writers and basketball GMs now that if they were to start their own program, start their own team, that Anthony Davis would be their top pick to build a franchise around.
You have to. He's just so good.
He's just such a diverse player.
Absolutely. Well, let's take us through your bench there then you got.
Yeah, let's see. On my bench then I had Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, Zach Randolph, and Paul Pierce.
You have a fantastic team like 5 years ago.
That's what I mean. See, I was looking at this and I'm like,
destroy everybody.
I'm going to draft a bunch of old guys that can still ball.
Absolutely.
And then surround it with a bunch of young guys.
D-Wade still knows how to throw down a three.
But see, the thing is I was reading through all the bios of my players, and they all started off with great pickups with a high ceiling, but watch out for the pain they're going to have in their body during the season.
Yeah, Cam Fitch, 32 on Periscope. That's a crazy team a few years ago. Absolutely.
D. Rose, Anthony, Duncan, Paul Pierce, the truth.
I can't even imagine if this was a real team 5 years ago. That's like half of Team USA on your team right there.
I know. I was pretty pumped. That's about as current as my basketball knowledge is.
Ridiculous.
So.
Oh, I know. I was reaching hard on some of these picks. Hopefully. But, so I'm a little curious to know how this works. One thing I didn't know about fantasy basketball before I started playing it is that when you have a matchup, because, in fantasy football, it's like, all right, week 1 of the NFL, okay, Sam and I are playing each other. We get all the points accumulated on that one week, basically, for our players. The fantasy basketball does it where you get a week. So if Sam and I are playing each other, we get all the points from our players that play on games for, I think it's 5 days. So this first one is October 27th, which is today, obviously. Woo!
Yeah.
To November 2nd. So all of our players that play from now until that day is how many points you get?
7
days. Is it 7 days? Okay.
7 days, yeah.
And you can adjust your lineup every day, so don't think that, oh my gosh, I've only got 3 guys playing. Well, yes, tonight for the games that are going on, I've only got 3 guys in my starting lineup that are actually playing.
I have 1.
Okay. Well,
tonight.
And then I go to tomorrow when suddenly everybody's playing, and then you can start drafting and flipping around. And you can preset your lineup according to time, which is fantastic.
Ooh.
Which I think is great, because I was going through the first 7 games, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this guy, I'm going to try that guy, see who can work. So, because a lot of what's going to happen this season for me is just going to be, whatever,
How many games are there in an NBA season?
A lot. 84.
82?
82,
I think
84.
it's 82.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's 20-some weeks to the season, which is ridiculous.
They play till, isn't the NBA Finals in, June?
June, yeah.
That seems like forever from now.
It seems like I feel like their season feels longer than the baseball season. But I also feel like we forget about the baseball season because it starts in March, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's November, World Series time.
It's one of those things where during the summer, unless you're a diehard baseball fan, or, you just like having the baseball on the radio or whatever, you kind of June, July, August kind of just disappear, and then at least for me, I get back to school and I'm like, oh, baseball's still going. I wonder how the Brewers have been doing. I wonder how.
Yep, exactly. You go catch a few ball games with your family and friends and everything, but yeah, basketball season, as someone says here on Periscope, is so much longer than football and baseball, which I would agree with that. I mean, it starts in October and goes till June. I mean, that's a hefty chunk.
I think the fact that it goes through winter just makes it feel all that long.
I think so, too, because people forget that NHL runs the exact same season. I mean, NHL starts in October, and they run until about April or May, I think.
Because I know the championship portion of their season is pretty late. It's almost like July.
It is. It's almost summertime. It's like, why is there hockey on in the middle of summer? Well, actually, I think it is June. I think
yeah, because I remember I was on a trip with a friend once, and he was all worried about making it back to Chicago for the parade for the Blackhawks.
Oh.
And I'm like, it's June or July. There's hockey going on? Yeah.
Late June.
Late June. So.
Okay, that makes total sense then. All right. Well, anyway, fantasy basketball is going to be quite the experience this year. If you
let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on what Sam and I's teams are. I'd like to say we can offer advice, but we're going to
try. We're going to get.
If you have fantasy basketball questions, you can ask us, and we'll forward them on to our fantasy basketball experts, and hopefully they can figure it out, because we're going to be just as listening.
We will have
to
get Mitch on the show at least.
We're going to have
once
to get
in a
Mitch
while,
on. Yeah, he will be our true fantasy basketball expert. So we're going to step aside. We'll be right back. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Bax and Grand Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
One quick reminder for all of you out there that love listening to the show, you can get us right here on Spreaker.com from 7 to 8 a.m. Central Live and on Periscope as well. Thanks to all of you that have been commenting and chatting with us on Periscope. It's been a great show so far. And we also want to take a moment to remind you that you can get us on SportsRadioAmerica.com by going to SportsRadioAmerica.com and also looking for us on Live 365 and TuneIn as well. And then we're also on demand on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on Spreaker.com.
I love hearing that we're on demand.
We are on demand because we are in demand because people want to hear us.
We're on demand. Like, I want you here right now.
Yeah, basically. If people want to be like, I want to listen to Bax and Grant or Bax and Sam. Okay, sure. Boom. There you go. Go to iTunes, download it. iHeartRadio. Oh, bloop, bloop. I think that's one thing that when people are like, iHeartRadio. You guys are on iHeartRadio? Like, yeah. Go to iHeartRadio or iHeart.com or whatever the heck it is. I think it's iHeart.com and search the Bax and Grant Sports Show and boom.
It's there.
We are there. We are with you everywhere. Kind of like UPS. Oh, no, Visa. Looking everywhere
Visa.
You want. Taking you wherever you want to be or wherever it is. All right. So last night was the battle in the desert between the Arizona Cardinals and the Baltimore Ravens. The Cardinals coming away with a victory. 26
a lot closer
to 18.
than I thought it was going to be. I'll admit, a lot closer.
I agree. I checked the score right before I went to bed, and I'm like, oh, okay, this game is very, very close. I was very surprised by that. A lot of that, I think, stemmed from Carson Palmer doing fairly well last night. Chris Johnson had a monster night last night also. He had 18 carries for 122 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.8 yards a carry.
Yeah, a lot of that did come on one big touchdown run, so that helped inflate his stats a little bit, but still, he did have a very, very great game.
Absolutely, yeah. It was one of those things where you're like, holy cow, man, what is going on? I was shocked about it because I was checking some of the fantasy scores last night, too, and I'm like, oh, wow, Connor Christensen, our filth expert, yes, our fitness expert.
There
That's
we go.
What it is. Our fitness expert and our fight corner guy. That's what I meant to do. I combined them.
Words.
He has Chris Johnson on his team, and I saw that he had a major spike in his points. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Who's playing that he has? And I checked him like, oh, Chris Johnson. Holy cow.
Chris Johnson has been a cornerstone of Connor's team thus far.
Well, let's be honest. Connor's team needs any bit of the help that it can get.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's been an iffy year for Connor and his fantasy team. Looking here at Baltimore, Joe Flacco, he aired the ball out 40 times last night, completing 26 of those for 252 yards, 1 touchdown, and an interception. He was sacked 3 times.
Yeah, that interception didn't come to the last play, the last offensive play of the game for the Ravens either. But it was nice to see them be able to move the ball. Like, they scored with about 4 minutes left, and then they were able to get the ball. But actually, they scored, got the touchdown, got the 2-point conversion, and then actually were able to spin right around and get the ball back.
It was kind of crazy, honestly, just to see that this Baltimore team was actually close to beating Arizona. But now Arizona goes to 5-2, 3-1 at home. Baltimore goes to 1-6, 1-4 overall. So you're 1-6, you're Baltimore. You have to be thinking about this if you're an organization, saying, all right, how long do we keep around our coach? Because it seems to be a reoccurring theme. You go down, 1-5, 1-6, and suddenly somebody's head's got to go. You got to cut somebody.
It's true. I don't know. I guess I don't know a whole lot about the Ravens organization to make that decision. To know if it's been the head coach, a coordinator, offensive or defensive, who's really been dropping the ball. I know the Lions just fired their offensive coordinator yesterday.
Lombardi, we just heard him get canned.
So again, does it come down to a situation like that where do they feel as an organization they should be putting up more points? Is it the OC's call or we'll have to wait and see. But yeah. What do you think? Question for you.
Yes.
Does this hurt Arizona's? Yeah, they're now 5-2. Yeah.
No, that's not a bad idea. Somebody on Periscope recommends that Harbaugh should get fired and then go to Miami and take over that job.
Yeah, we'll see.
As in the University of Miami or the Dolphins? Because I know the Dolphins have an interim head coach right now, but
I'm assuming the Dolphins. But anyway, so back to that point. So the Cardinals now go to 5-2.
Yep.
They only beat the Ravens by 8 points.
Yeah, only, yeah.
And a lot of people were expecting this to be a huge game. Carson Palmer was projected to be like the number 1 fantasy quarterback in the NFL this weekend.
Mm-hmm. I know I started him in one of my daily leagues.
Yeah, they should have just blown the Ravens out of the water based on the stat line. Do you think, this is going to be another one of those games we're talking about where it's like, yeah, Arizona won. They only won by 8 against a horrible team, and they're even at home. Are they really for real?
Well, look at who Arizona's beaten. They've beaten the Saints, the Bears, the 49ers, the Lions, and now the Ravens.
I'm not really liking any of those wins.
I'm not either. I mean, look at the teams they've lost to. They lost to the Rams by 2, and they lost to the Steelers by 8.
Yeah. So, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. For those of you that were just watching us on Periscope, our app apparently just crashed. Anyway, another day in our life here with the technical issues. Anyway, so to answer your question, Sam, I would have to say that I don't think that this win carries a lot of weight for them, honestly. Sure, they're 5-2, so on paper they look great. But aside from that, I mean, what can you really say about this team? I think that, sure, that's great that they won this game, but
I think aside from Chris Johnson,
it doesn't carry anything.
I think aside from Chris Johnson, they vastly underperformed last night. I was expecting a lot better offensive performance out of the Cardinals overall. To see them only put up 26 points. 26 points is a good amount in football, but not with an Arizona Cardinals team that they have right now, with the weapons that they have. Again, playing at home against a really, really bad defense.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you. That's why you and I were both predicting. We're like, oh, this should be an Arizona team that we both picked in the 30s. I had 31, I think, and you had 35 or 37 for your prediction.
35-17 was my projection.
Yeah,
so
and you were close with the Baltimore one. Yeah, and I mean, look at Arizona's schedule. I mean, they go to Cleveland, next week.
Okay.
And then they go to Seattle.
Okay.
Then they play the Bengals.
Okay.
So the next 3 games, like 2 out of those 3 games,
definitely hold some weight.
Carry some weight. Yes. Aside from that, though, I mean, they don't really play a lot of other good teams down the stretch. I mean, yes, they play Green Bay. You can make an argument about Philadelphia. They play Seattle again. They take on the Rams one more time also, but Arizona, for me, is not going to start carrying a ton of weight with their record until they start. If they go in and if they beat Cincinnati, that'll be big. If they beat Seattle, I would consider that fair. But if they lose to Seattle, everyone's going to be like, "Oh, Seattle's back! They beat a top NFL team." Be like, "Shut up!
Yeah.
Stop!" I hate people that are like that. It's like, get over yourself.
I think that'll be one of the things that happens too. Like if and when the Patriots finally lose one, whoever beats them is going to get just a ton of street cred from this. Be like, "Yeah, we beat the Patriots." It's like, yeah, you did, but they haven't beaten that many great teams thus far.
No, they really haven't, and I'm thankful, though, that you and I, who do support the green and gold of the Packers, we can at least say, oh, the Packers have beaten a few good teams. They've beaten a few. I mean, yeah, they beat Seattle. I mean, Kansas City at that time was a good team.
Yep.
They also beat the Rams. They beat the Chargers. But I think Green Bay will officially establish themselves further over the next 2 weeks when they take on Denver on Sunday Night Football, and then they take on the Panthers as well. So
yeah, those are going to be obviously you get 2 games against 2 currently undefeated teams. So
yes, no, I'd agree with you on that one. So I think you look at that from that perspective and say, okay, this is a team that could really actually live up to. Oh, they deserve to be undefeated because they're winning the games they should win. But they're also, that game against Seattle, I know week 2 had a lot of implications on it. The Fail Mary, the playoffs, the this, the that, the whatever thing.
That game they just needed to win regardless.
Exactly. Green Bay could have, I feel like, lost every other game the rest of their season, but as long as they'd have beaten Seattle, I think Packer fans would have been semi-happy.
Like, all right, that's all we got to do.
Exactly. We beat Seattle. Fine. Move on. Forget about it. So whether or not you're happy about this, if you're a Cardinals fan, I think you're happy because you're 5-2 and you're in the top of your division, but I still have a hard time really honing in on if this Cardinals team is for real. Because they haven't played anybody, in my opinion, that really sticks out to me that's like, oh, that team definitely deserved to kick butt, and that team is definitely the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. We're at the same time, we're kind of in that unique situation this year where we have the most undefeated teams through this portion of the season that we've had like almost ever.
5, yeah. This is the most undefeated teams that have ever been around after this many games of play.
But at the same time, you look at the league and there's such a disconnect now. It's like the good teams have gotten better and the rest of the league has just really fallen. Like I'm trying to find like this nice, middle class of NFL football right now, and it's just not happening.
Well, if you want to call it the middle class, you could say that Arizona, Atlanta, Minnesota.
Yeah, I guess, but at the same time, I'm just looking at those teams and going, okay, they're just slightly better than the bottom guys.
Exactly, and there's no teams. I mean, people can make an argument saying, well, Atlanta's 6-1. They're obviously a good football team, but
it took you to overtime to beat Kirk Cousins. So it's one of those things that I look at it and say, all right, give me a few more weeks. Maybe we can rewind and talk about this again in a few more weeks when we have some more games on the schedule.
Yeah.
it's tough to tell sometimes early in the season, especially when they've only played a few games. Everyone's record is going to be similar.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. So who do you think is going to lose first? Well, that's not a fair question because Green Bay plays Denver this coming weekend. So there will be one less undefeated team regardless.
I think the Panthers. I think if the Panthers don't win, if they don't win this coming week, they're definitely going to lose against the Packers. I don't think Carolina's stretch will go that far.
Panthers Colts this coming weekend, and then Panthers Packers.
Yeah. The Panthers have shown themselves to be actually a pretty diverse football team. They had a really great power running performance,
which is so weird. Like,
out of Carolina,
I can't name anybody on Carolina's offense.
Yeah, it's
like Jonathan Stewart and Greg Olsen and Cam Newton. That's all I've got.
Mike Tolbert is their other running back. The tailback, Ted Ginn Jr. out of the
he's still
wide
in the
receiver.
Game?
Yeah,
holy cow!
And he's kind of been their top option now with Kelvin Benjamin being done for the season. But they got a good defense, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, they've only allowed 110 points this season, but yeah, Carolina, I have a hard time getting behind them. Obviously, Green Bay and Denver play each other Sunday Night Football, so we'll be down to 4 for sure.
Yeah.
Whether or not we're down to 3 or 2 or 1, depending on how everybody else does, we'll find out.
We're still going to have one more coming out of this week.
Exactly. There will be at least one undefeated team out of this coming weekend. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, let's take a look at what's going to happen with the World Series, the World Classic, the greatest game ever played, any given.
America's pastime.
Babe Ruth, all those guys. The World Series. We'll talk about it. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Baxton Grand Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
All right, Sam. Well, the World Series kicks off tonight. I still haven't figured. They need to come up with something. They need to figure out something. Either way, the World Series starts tonight. It is the Kansas City Royals taking on the New York Mets. Not exactly the World Series I feel most folks thought was going to be
unless
going
you're
into
a Royals fan.
Unless you're a Royals fan, because last year you made it all the way to the World Series, and you lost, unfortunately, in Game 7. It was a very memorable Game 7 with Madison Bumgarner doing just ridiculous things, leading them to a victory in Game 7.
He was awesome to watch.
He was. The Giants beat the Royals 3-2 last year in Game 7 at Kauffman Stadium and became the first team since 1979 when the Pittsburgh Pirates to win a Game 7 series on the road. English is beautiful. Holy cow.
There we go.
Good God. They also became the second team after the Boston Red Sox to win 3 championships in the 21st century as well. So the San Francisco Giants, as most of you that follow the baseball world know, didn't make the playoffs this year, which is kind of crazy because how do you go from winning a World Series to not making the playoffs? But personnel, injuries, I get it. All that happens.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see the Royals still back, though, after making it last season.
It is, yeah. So they're proving that. I remember, even about 5 or 10 years ago, Kansas City was like the laughingstock of Major League Baseball. I didn't know much about baseball, but I always knew, the Royals were just awful. If you ever played, whatever it is, MLB The Show or anything, you always played against the Royals because you knew you could just go for 20.
You could be like the Phillies or the Red Sox of days gone by and just light up the Royals.
Exactly. Ryan Howard, David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, all those guys.
Those days, yeah, that was fun.
I love that. That's the little bit that I played baseball back in the day. We mentioned earlier in the show, too, Sam, about playing fantasy basketball. Fantasy baseball is just a whole nother animal.
It is ridiculous. Tried that
Did you
summer.
Really?
And I'll admit, I made it through with the first month of the season doing decently well and, checking it off. And it's kind of the same thing where actually it's just you don't really play anybody. You just have all the guys in your league and you just have a running point total of all the guys on your team that accumulate points, and
sure,
your standings can shift every day, every hour. I mean, it all just and you just play, and you can switch guys out every day, based on who's playing.
Sure,
you get a couple starting pitchers, position players, things like that. But I remember I was on my college campus last spring when the draft was starting, and I was just sitting down in our student union, and I'm like, all right, my draft starts in 5 minutes. I know nothing about baseball. I looked around, I'm like, hey, I saw a guy that I knew who played for the baseball team. I'm like, I need you to help me with my first 5 picks. Just get me through the first 5 rounds and I'll be okay. And then, life happened over the summer, got a busy job.
Who'd you end up drafting? Do you remember any of your big players?
I actually drafted Jose Bautista.
Oh, okay.
So I was really kind of pulling for the Blue Jays as a bandwagon guy.
Absolutely.
Because I really couldn't. I'd feel bad if I was really getting behind the team. I'm like, I haven't been here the whole time. I just drafted one of their studs in my draft, but
Blue Jays.
I actually checked my my fantasy baseball team right when the playoffs started because that's when it ends then for regular season.
Okay.
And I ended up finishing 5th out of 10.
Wow.
For really not touching my lineup for
that's not bad at all.
2.5 months.
That's credible, I suppose.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do, honestly. So
too much fantasy.
Congratulations. There really is. I know. I know people that are avid fantasy baseball players. I'm like, how?
If you can make a fantasy game out of any sport, there are a lot of people who will just jump on it.
Well, they've already ventured into the college football world, which I feel like is even harder because college football, just at the Division I level, there's 150 programs. Probably more. 100 in college football.
You go to those mid-majors, mid-minors.
And you can draft guys from those teams for either weekly fantasy or season-long fantasy. It's just crazy. I'm like, how in the world do you even know who to draft?
I would just stay in the SEC and maybe the good teams in the Big Ten.
Exactly.
I would just limit myself
Ohio
to
State
that.
And anybody from the SEC. That's all. That's perfect. All right. Well, so the World Series kicks off tonight. That game is at 8:07 p.m. on Fox. Fox is hosting all of the games for the World Series. The Mets will travel to Kansas City for the first 2 games, then Kansas City back for the other 2, obviously, to New York. And the series can run as long as November 4th. However, I do not feel that is going to happen simply because we were talking about this off-air, that the Mets have such a great pitching staff, which is great.
The Mets have an awesome starting rotation. I know DeGrom has been just pitching out of his mind lately, and he's been fun to watch. But as somebody mentioned on Periscope, shout out to Cam Fitch, who was very engaging, had a lot of great insight for the show that was appreciated. He made a good point that, the Mets have a great starting rotation, but the Royals have just a stellar bullpen and closing guys.
They do. I mean, you look at some of these guys. I mean, you mentioned Jacob deGrom. I'm sure we'll see Noah Syndergaard as well, Matt Harvey, Steven Matz, and Bartolo Colon, who's always good for at least a good video or 2 here and there.
Yeah.
But, they're rotators here for the relief pitchers. You've got Tyler Clippard, Addison Reed, Hansel Robles, Jonathan Neese, Sean Gilmartin, and their closer is Euryphes Familia.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, lights out thus far in the playoffs, help them make a run. But I guess if I had to pick right now, I'd have to say Mets in 6 games.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think a lot of that is going to stem from how good their bats staying hot because they've had to really keep it going here because the postseason is there's so many games that you have to play. I think
it gets to be so long.
It is, yeah. I mean, the Mets so far, they had to go to 5 games against the Dodgers. They won that series 3-2. They one big game that the Mets had. They dropped 13 runs against the Dodgers in a 13-7 game.
Yeah.
And then they went and swept the Cubs, which I thought was a huge win for that organization overall. I mean, I know the Chicago Cub fans are really hoping to
this
back
is
to the future, Cubs, everything has been predicted, woo! And then they go out and sweep the Cubs. They beat them in 4 games. They beat them 4-2, 4-1, 5-2, and 8-3. Kansas City, not Kansas City. The Mets just really look like the better team overall.
Yeah,
and I'm not a massive,
more complete team.
I agree with you on that one. I think that Chicago has got a good overall product, but the Mets really stepped out of their comfort zone and said, look, we are the best team.
Yep.
We're going to really go out there and
agree.
dominate. So looking at it on the Royals side of things, their pitching is not too bad also. I think they've got some pretty good guys. Johnny Cueto, Edison Velasquez, Yordano Ventura, Chris Medlin, Chris Young. You talk about some of the other guys they got for closers as well. Wade Davis is their closer. Calvin Herrera, one of their relief pitchers. This is a team that really has started to pick things up, and Ned Yost, a former Brewers manager, also doing great things for that organization.
Can't believe it. For as poor as he was in Milwaukee, you know what? For the sake of baseball, I'm glad he's found a team that he's doing well with and has led to back-to-back World Series, but and I just have horror stories in my head from the days in Milwaukee with him. So.
Yeah, that's what I definitely heard. When I found out that Ned Yost was the manager of that team, I'm like, wait, is this the same Ned Yost that was with the Brewers? I'm like, but how are they doing good?
Yeah.
I was really, really conpuzzled. Yeah, I was confused and puzzled at the same time. Conpuzzled. It's a new word.
Good word.
Write it down. Looking at what the Royals did in their opening games, they went to 5 games with the Houston Astros, beating them 3-2. They got the littlest amount of runs that they ever scored in a game was 2, and the most they ever scored was 9. Looking really like a complete team with that. And then they had to go all the way to game 6 with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays were not going down without a fight.
Yeah, they were not at all.
Yeah, despite jumping out to a 2-game series lead in that one, beating Toronto 5-0 on that first one, and then 6-3 in game 2. And then now it just gets really interesting. I think both of these teams will be very complete, a very strong matchup between the two. So
I think the one thing the Royals have going for them, especially just being a younger team, is they've been here.
Yes.
I think pretty much all of these guys were here last year. They know what it's like now. They're a little more grown up, if you will. They understand the big stage, and hopefully they can come out and just get the job done.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. So you said you have the Mets.
In 6.
Mets in 6. I'm going to go to Kansas City. I think that Kansas City, as you mentioned, they've been here. They know what to expect. Their experience in the big game is what's going to fuel them through.
Yeah.
I think that the Royals are going to win in 5.
Royals in 5.
Royals in 5. So let us know your thoughts. You can tweet at us at BG Sports Show, at Baxter Colburn, at Samuel_Wallace2, and at Grant's Rant BGSS as well. We're going to shoot aside for a moment. When we come back, take a look at the week that was in fantasy football and see just how people did in the Baxter Grant Sports Show Fantasy Football League. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax. Sam Wallace was here co-hosting this morning, and he did a fantastic job, as he always does. We were looking into the baseball world, we looked at basketball, and we looked at the NFL as well. So always a great time here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show. I just want to take a moment, though, and apologize to the wonderful people that listen to our show, that support us on a daily and weekly basis as well. We've had a lot of technical issues with our show the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, and I know a lot of you were probably excited to hear from David Kenyon today, but we continue to run into some technological issues on our show, so I just want to reassure all of you that we are working as hard as we can on our end to figure out all the issues, see what exactly is causing all the problems. We've been in contact with several different new platforms and several different avenues as well, so we are doing our best to get our programming back to a respectable standard, because you, the listener, deserve only the best, and we are very grateful for all that you have done to listen to the show and support the show as well. So from all of us here at the Bax and Grant Sports Show to you, we hope you accept our apology for what has, in my opinion at least, been not the highest quality audio-wise of broadcast the last few shows over the last few weeks. So apologies for all of that. Moving forward, I want to take a look at the week that was in the Bax and Grant Sports Show Fantasy Football League. It was a nail-biter for my game. I actually took on Grant last night, and I beat him by 1 point. I beat him 90-89 last night, as I had the Arizona kicker, Costanzo. He got me 2 field goals and some extra points last night. He got me 7 points, which is all I needed to win my game 90-89, so I get to go to 5-2 on the season overall. My co-host Sam Wallace, he jumped out to a massive lead on his game against Matt Evans. He grabbed a 121-54 lead or victory last night, courtesy of having Lamar Miller on his team. Looking around the rest of the league, Zach Poppenfuss improved to 5-2. He got a 51-44 victory over Corey Plath of the Cortland Prosecutors. So it just was not the greatest game point-wise from those two. David Kenyon, our Encyclopedia of Football, has won his 4th straight game to improve to 4-3. He dropped 144 points last night against the Wolfpack and Joel Wolfrath, who got only 80 points. Some other close games last night. We had Connor Christensen pulling out the victory against Chris Blakely, a 98-90 victory. Connor goes to 3-4. Chris drops to 4-3. And then we had Danny Hoppenstein go to 4-3 after a 96-74 victory over Team Landvatter. So looking at the standings here in the Bax and Grant Sports Show Fantasy Football League, in the Eastern Division, I sit on top of the East Division with a 5-2 record. We have Run from the One with 4-3. Straight out of ACLs 2-5, Cortland Prosecutors 2-5, Team Landvatter 2-5, and the Wolfpack 2-5. So the East is not exactly very strong this year, unfortunately. The West, though, is what all the hot and heavy, crazy hitters have been in, though, this season. The Cuban Raft Riders are 6-1, Detroit Area Nerdy Guys 5-2, Fort Wayne Vandals 4-3, Pallet Town Monsters 4-3, Hartford Whalers 3-4, and the Houston Oilers are 3-4. Looking at my team, I am going to have to replace 2 of my guys this week. My starting quarterback was Blake Bortles the last 2 weeks. So as of now, I have to replace him with Alex Smith, which I am not thrilled about. I hope that doesn't stay long-term. Alex Smith and Blake Bortles are the only 2 active quarterbacks on my roster right now. I do have Tony Romo, however, he is on injured reserve till at least week 11, so for all of you that know what's going on with Tony Romo, you sure can understand the frustration that I am in at the moment. My running backs this upcoming week, as of now, will be Adrian Peterson and Carlos Hyde. Wide receivers will be Jarvis Landry and A.J. Green. Tight end is going to be Richard Rogers for the moment over Heath Miller. Heath Miller, I don't know what his problem was. He's been used way more as a blocker than a receiver recently, even though he's seen a lot of snaps. He just wasn't even, he failed to make a catch on his 2 targets on the Steelers' 23-13 loss against the Chiefs on Sunday. So that kind of warrants that for me. I am going to put in the Broncos defense, though, against the Packers. Well, I actually don't know what I'm going to do with them because I have the Vikings against Chicago and I have the Broncos against the Packers. So got a few options there. Kendall Wright is one of my tight ends. Got him. He plays Houston this week as Tennessee takes on the Texans. So as of right now, my starting lineup is Alex Smith, Adrian Peterson, Carlos Hyde, Jarvis Landry, A.J. Green, Richard Rodgers, Doug Martin, the Vikings defense, and Chandler Catanzaro. Oh, Catanzaro. I don't know. It's got a weird last name, but he's doing well for me. That's all that matters. He's the reason I won my game last night. So I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are about my team going forward. I know that I need to probably hit the wire and try to add a few new guys if I can. Quarterback, I'm kind of just coasting right now with the best that I can find. Might try to streamline a few guys this week also and see if there's somebody out there that can save me from the quarterback position. I'm not exactly sure. So other than that, though, fantasy-wise, we saw some big performers. Lamar Miller, as I'm sure a lot of folks know, dropped 35 points. He had a great week in fantasy football overall, so folks, I'm sure, are thrilled by his production. And I do want to also take a moment and share with everybody the latest Bax and Grant Sports Show Fantasy Football Power Rankings as well. They are out officially. So out the bottom, working their way up, in 12th place is the Wolfpack, down one spot from last week. Team Landvatter drops to 11th after losing one spot. Cortland Prosecutors dropped to 10. They go after dropping another spot. Straight Out of ACLs drops 2 spots to 9. Houston Oilers jump 4 spots to 8th. Hartford Whalers jump 1 spot to 7. Detroit Area Nerdy Guys stay at 6. Let's see here. Run from the 1 drops 2 spots to 5. Palatown Monsters stay at 4. The Fort Wayne Vandals jump up 2 spots to 3. My team, even though we won, lost, dropped down to number 2. And Sam Wallace and company go to number 1. So that is his first time that he is the number 1 team on the power rankings here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show. So congratulations to Sam on taking over the Bax and Grant Sports Show power rankings. So congratulations to him. All right, well, it has been another exciting edition of the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Huge thanks to all of you that tuned into our show today. It has been an adventure, as it always has been here on the Bax and Grant Sports Show. We love all of you that continue to listen to us. We hope that you will not forget about us and always tell your friends and family about us. Go off and listen to us on demand as you always can, but you also can get us live from 7 to 8 a.m. Central right here on Spreaker.com and on Periscope. Sorry again for the Periscope issues that took place this morning. You can also get us on Sports Radio America from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time and on Live 365 and TuneIn, and then on demand on your smartphone, your computer, your iPad, your tin can, your carrier pigeon, wherever, on Spreaker.com, on iHeartRadio, and on iTunes as well. Download our podcast, give us a like, subscribe us, tell your friends, spread the good news that is the Bax and Grant Sports Show. For those of you that love social media, you can find us on Facebook at the Bax and Grant Sports Show. Like our page, check out our videos and everything else that we post on a daily basis. Twitter, we are at BG Sports Show. I am at Baxter Colburn. Sam is Samuel_Wallace2, and Grant is Grant's Rant BGSS. Thank you again to Sam Wallace for stopping by, as he does a great job co-hosting. He and I will be back again on the air tomorrow for a Wednesday edition. The new power rankings will be out for the Bax and Grant Sports Show in terms of the NFL. Who's going to be the new number 1? Will New England stay on top, or will a new team emerge? We'll find out. See you all tomorrow, and good luck to you baseball fans and you basketball fans and everybody else that's a fan of sports. Don't ever stop loving the games you do. Keep playing them, and always remember that God is a Packer fan. Have a good one, everybody.